hopefully I don't screw up this part because I'm never the one that hits the record button.
It'll be an interesting one.
It will. Yeah, and now I don't know how to do my intro. So during this portion, we have podcast music that plays, and then we start our episode. So if you're listening, everyone, things are starting off a little bit different, but welcome everyone to episode 20 of Millennial Mom Thoughts. And normally, this is where Helen would say, "What's up, what's up, what's up?" every single episode. But Helen is unfortunately sick today and is missing her first podcast episode. And she has the previous 19, but episode 20, she is literally in bed and feels absolutely terrible. So, dear Helen, we all miss you, and we will pick back up next week. But I'm really excited. And I was excited even before, unfortunately, Helen got sick. We have our very first guest on our episode today. We've talked about it for a while, about wanting to include some new voices and just get new perspectives. And so I am really excited to introduce Caitlin Finn. And so what I will do is ask you, because really I personally don't know a whole lot about you other than just the couple of things we've talked about on phone calls and Zoom meetings that we've been a part of. But
Thanks for having me.
yeah, if you want to say, like, who you are, where you're from, all the things when you do those kind of like introductions at a new job or at school, or who are you, where are you from,
Yeah,
what's your
sure.
family like, and tell the listeners who we're talking
Yeah,
to.
yeah. So, like Jordan said, my name is Caitlin Finn. I'm from Palatine, Illinois, northwest suburbs of Chicago. Pretty much lived here my entire life. Moved the family into the same neighborhood I grew up in. So my
Oh,
kids are going to the same schools and everything.
oh, fun.
But yeah,
Okay.
haven't gone far. I'm a speech language pathologist, practiced in early childhood for about 11 years. And once I had my third baby, I wasn't very good at the balance thing and decided to stay home with the children full time. So
And what
yeah,
are your kids' ages?
they are about 2 years apart. My oldest is 14. Then I have a 12-year-old in seventh grade, a fifth grader, and a third grader.
Oh man, okay. You
Yeah.
are living in it. There's a lot going on all the time, I would imagine.
I always thought as they got older, it would get a little easier, but it's kind of the opposite. You
Oh,
get busier somehow,
yeah. I have a
but different
2-year-old. So yeah, I was hoping that some of these things would calm down a little bit, but I'm guessing
Yeah, just
no.
a different kind of busy for
Yeah.
sure.
Well, can you share? So tonight we're going to talk about like distraction free school. I mean, oh, spoiler alert on this. I usually go off on random tangents. So what we start talking about may lead to something else, but um,
Like,
we got connected through. Are you in the WhatsApp group? I don't even know that the
I
Smartphone Free
think
Childhood US. Is that how we?
I might technically be in it. I've not joined one of those calls though.
Oh, okay. But through Smartphone Free Childhood and then the Distraction Free Schools project, um, that's kind of how I think your name was given to me. Gosh, who emailed? Was it Laura maybe? Or anyways,
Yeah, one of those girls in church.
through all of these things, the smartphone worries, like I've shared before, I started Wait Until Eighth here in my town, and just there's all these kind of different groups that it seems like that are trying to collectively basically
Yes.
hopefully work towards kind of the same goal. And one of those is this distraction free schools project. So can you tell me, like, how did you get involved with all of this?
Yeah. So I think probably similar to you, once you start worrying about this all and trying to dig deeper, thankfully there are so many groups that have started
Yeah.
all around the world. But it is kind of tricky to keep them all straight. Yeah, so distraction-free school, I think that was my main focus, was how tech was used in school. So that one was the one that really caught my attention, with the 3 different laws that they're hoping to enact. So
Yeah, and we can definitely talk about those different laws. I'm curious, I feel like anything that's not Chicagoland, they just call downstate. So like everything downstate. And not being from Illinois, I didn't know that was like a thing. It's like it's either Chicago or everything else. But what is it like in your like what's your community like, school district? Do you have an idea like about how big is it? Kind of the community
so
makeup,
it's
if you will.
either the first or second largest elementary school district in the state of Illinois,
Oh, okay.
which there can be pros and cons for that. It's, yeah, pretty diverse, but very, very large. And so that has been a problem, I feel like, in trying to make any sort of changes regarding the technology. Since it is such a large district, I feel like, extremely hard to change any policy.
Sure. How many schools, do you know how many schools total are in your, and is it just Palatine district?
No, it
What's the,
covers probably 5 or 6 different towns it kind of pulls from.
okay.
So there are, like, I want to say 14 different elementary schools, like
Oh,
5 middle schools. Yeah.
okay. So
So,
this is, yeah,
yeah, pretty big.
then more than one high school as well? Or is it just one?
Um, that's a separate district, but those
Oh,
schools, I guess,
schools.
feed into 2 different high schools.
Okay. And what are those two high schools?
Fremd High School and Palatine High School.
Okay. Yeah, I am not as well versed in all the different suburbs and all the districts. Okay. Yeah, so for Morton here, certainly a small, it's like 3,200 students I think total in the district. Um,
Okay.
K K-12, so it's a smaller group just outside, Peoria. But so
Yeah.
I know that I've asked you, I think I've already asked you this before like 3 times, how you've kind of gotten some parents kind of on board with, what you're doing, and like can you talk through how did you start a conversation basically in your community? Like what did that look like? When did that happen?
Well,
What did that look like?
I had first reached out to our school district about concerns. My husband and I did. We had several in-person meetings and phone calls, and just felt like we weren't really getting anywhere, especially not as fast as we were hoping. So um, we decided to start our own focus group in the district. We were hoping it would include administrators, teachers, and parents. Right now, it's mainly parents, but we do have a couple teachers as well. So
Okay.
um, it's probably made up of technically 60-ish people. Um, we've had a couple meetings this school year, and again, it's just
Yeah.
a really hard road to travel. We had 2 main um, goals that we were working on at the start of the year, which were focused on keeping any free time that happened in school screen free.
Mm,
So that could be, kids finish an assignment, not being able to have that option to just go on a Chromebook and play a game,
right.
but keeping it to something off the screen. Um, and the other focus was on trying to give the option to families to not have to bring their Chromebook home every day. That's a district policy starting in 3rd grade that the students are required to bring their Chromebook home daily. And the reasoning we were given was purely for charging purposes.
Right.
So,
To charge it overnight. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So
Um,
your district's 1-to-1 with Chromebooks, and does
yeah.
that they take them home in 3rd grade, but does that start earlier than 3rd grade that they have the
So kindergartners have iPads that stay at school.
okay.
And then I think anything above kindergarten has Chromebooks. 1st and 2nd grade, they keep them at school. And then starting 3rd grade, they bring them home.
They bring them home. Okay.
Yeah.
And then you'd said you just kind of on your own, you and your husband had reached out to the school with some concerns. Can you talk about like what those concerns were that brought you to, communicate
Yeah,
with the
yeah.
school?
So the initial concerns started, I think. So, like I said, our oldest is a freshman in high school right now. He's 14. And so he had like the e learning year in,
Yeah.
it was his fourth grade year. So I feel like he was maybe in sixth grade. So, yeah, we had sixth grade, fourth grade, second grade, kindergarten then. And it was just all of a sudden we kept feeling like we were hearing lots of concerning stories around the dinner table that just got to be the common thing,
Yeah.
regarding, um, it could be, disruptions to the classroom. For example, it would be like, oh, so and so, pulled his headphones out and you could hear SpongeBob SquarePants blasting from his Chromebook, or, and they'd laugh about it. And, but it just got to be like, this was the stuff that was happening all the time. Or so and so's, checking all the sports scores. He just like angles his Chromebook this way and nobody really knows if that's happening. Or, just playing video games and just all those type of stories that were just like, well, I mean, how are you learning?
Right. Right.
This is what's happening all the time. Yeah.
Off task
Yeah. So
questions.
it's just kind of like, you're mentally keeping track of all these stories and going, huh, yeah. Or different things that were being viewed during school as well, the content and
Yeah, I'm
just
assuming you're going to say
inappropriate.
inappropriate, yeah, things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean we've all seen the stories. Do you do you know anything about like your district's like our district uses something called Securely, which is,
Yeah.
put together so that they set all those parameters. And I know stuff still, gets through the filters, even the best of filters. Do you know
Yeah.
what your district
We use securely as well.
Okay, so you guys use
Yeah.
that too.
I believe just starting this school year though.
Okay. And then
Forget what it
since
was.
I don't I have a kindergartner and a 2-year-old, so I'm not living in the daily after school, device use or like all my homework is on devices. Now I see it from
Mm-hmm.
the students that I tutor each week,
Yeah.
but from a parent perspective, what's that like, especially probably for your high schooler who just I assume had, multiple classes, multiple teachers.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of, since they're on the Chromebook, are they using like Google Classroom, or we have something called Schoology? Like what are what are his daily kind of after school tasks like on the device?
Um, so yeah, at the high school level, they have iPads.
Oh, they have
Um,
iPads. Okay. Okay.
yes, yeah. Um, yeah, Schoology. Honestly, I think there's so many different ones I couldn't even tell you.
Yeah. It's hard to keep track of them.
um, but I have been, we reached out to, so both our high schooler and then our middle schooler, they switch classes, so they have a bunch of different teachers.
Right.
So we did at the beginning of the school year send emails out to all the teachers, kind of explaining our concerns and how we would prefer, as much paper as possible, least amount of devices possible. That we were, obviously do not want to put the burden on the teacher, and explaining
Right.
we're willing to
Right.
do what we can at home and however we can support you. But we'll print out what we can, we'll check books out when we can, that kind of thing. So in general, we've gotten positive feedback, and yep, we understand. We're willing to work with you there, and so yeah, even our high schooler, he prints a lot of things out. He'll print out at the library, he'll print out at home, and then he'll tell us like he's got classmates that are like, "Oh, where'd you get that packet? I want to pick."
Oh, that are asking him for the
Yes.
packet,
Yeah.
not
So
realizing
I know
what
like
you
his
have.
math teacher has been, I think, printing out for a lot of kids in the class because of that. Yeah,
Wow.
especially math. I feel like I don't know how you do that on a
I
touch
don't know
screen
how you do math on a
or
screen
Chromebook. Yeah.
either. Yes, like for at least for now, math was not my strong suit by any means, but I cannot picture having to like type in the numbers and like I gotta write it all out and I need a big
Yeah.
piece of paper to do even probably some very, very basic math. But
Same.
okay,
Yeah.
so that's interesting that now it's like kids are looking at him like, hey, how'd you get that paper? I want the paper. I
Hmm.
wonder if that's gonna cause some kind of a yeah shift to like maybe
I mean, yeah, it sounded kind of like she went ahead and printed it out for whoever asked, but
yeah.
I don't know.
Did
I still
paper
think
just become cool again? I would hope so.
I'd love that.
I would too. That's certainly the goal. Um, okay, well, I did not know that you were a speech language pathologist.
Yes.
So my daughter, this is fine. Well, my son, when he was, I think, right before his second birthday, he started receiving speech services, and it did wonders. So I have such a like a
Awesome.
special place in my heart for speech paths, and my daughter sees one now too. A really great speech. They just you are in a wonderful profession that really really helps kids, and so well that makes me think like since you understand that language development piece
Hmm.
has that been something or part of your conversation with that background and that knowledge with now this push to like everything's on a screen and how that just impacts just language and communication, like is that
Yeah,
something?
honestly, I feel like the whole communication piece, yeah, probably because of the field I'm in, but just also, I don't know, like, I think that was the kind of things that I was noticing in life with kids that just really bothered me. When you drive past a bus stop and you see all the kids looking down on their Chromebooks instead of talking to each other, and
Right. Yeah.
hearing that they're riding the school buses and everyone's doing their own thing on their screen. Um, yeah, when it's like we have the choice that kids could be forced to take that screen break and be at school, that I just feel like it's such a disservice that us adults are doing. um,
Yeah. Well, and I've
um,
talked with Helen on here before about so I support, the bell to bell or away for the day, however it's called, phone policy at schools. And I know there are definitely those that don't, and I
yeah.
understand where people are coming from. And I know safety gets brought into this a lot, but
Hmm.
can you share like what, and I can share mine too. What led you to support this bell to bell or away for the day phone ban at schools? Like, how did that become something that you supported, and and then we can kind of talk about the actual distraction free schools project.
Yeah. Again, initially, I feel like it's the whole like connection communication piece that really gets my heart,
Yeah.
um, I think it really, I was very glad when I heard the information from the experts, the emergency experts, that whole piece of actually kids are safer when they don't have a device on them. Kids need to be able to follow the directions for whoever's in charge of the emergency situation. That um, it can be problematic if they do have a device on them that's making noise, giving away location, that kind of thing.
Right.
It can be problematic if kids are using devices to reach out to parents, and then parents are showing up at the school and they've got a problem with, too many cars in the way and the emergency vehicles can't get in. So to hear the whole, an expert from, the emergency side of things, giving
Yeah.
those points, I
Well, and
feel like was a whole nother things that I didn't really think about. I'm like, all right, well, that seals the deal for me.
yeah. Well, in case anyone's not familiar, and I don't know that I've shared this resource specifically, but and I'm going to blank on the name, but it's basically the SROs, school resource officers.
Yes.
national organization. Again, I know
Yeah.
I'm going to
Yeah.
butcher the name, but whoever runs the school, the National Organization for School Resource Officers, came out
Yes.
with an official statement like we support schools doing bell to bell phone ban policies for all those things that you said, even in an emergency situation. Um, because it's taking their attention away from critical instructions that need to be
Hmm.
had and listened to. And it can, like you said, your first reaction is to call or text mom and dad, and if they all show up at the same time, that can cause emergency responders to not be able to get there for whatever the emergency is, natural disaster, a fire, something man-made, whatever it is. And then also, I think it was just today I was watching something like kids will start live streaming, what's going on. And so if there is something that you don't want people to see where you are, know where you are in a building and you're live streaming, it's like they can
Yeah.
see where you are. And so having access to that device in that way can actually cause harm because you're alerting maybe someone else to where you are, which can be
Yeah.
dangerous. So I hadn't thought of that piece before myself. Um, okay, so I had
Yeah.
pulled up, we don't certainly need to read the word for word all three bills. But so there are three like model bills that are going to be or being proposed. One is the Phone Free Schools bill, one is the Social Media Free Schools bill, and then also the Safe Tech Schools bill. Um, and since you have you've taken on this lead role for the state of Illinois, which sounds very, very official when I think about it, like the state of Illinois. Um,
Well, I'm going to call you my co-lead because you're
uh,
doing just as much.
well, and it
Somebody needed to do it, right?
that's yeah. Well, and that's kind of how I have felt like just in my own community. I and I don't know if you start to feel this way. I don't claim or want to claim to be like an expert on this. I just want to be a voice that helps amplify the experts that are out there doing this work. And
Yeah.
now that I know what I know, I just feel like I can't not share this information. Um,
Yeah.
Maybe obnoxiously, I don't know. Hopefully nobody's too annoyed by me for now, but at least for me, the reception that I've gotten, even though it's kind of small, or the reach that I've made, like people seem to be like, yes, this is a problem, but then they feel
Hmm.
like helpless. Like, well, it's just that, like, what are we gonna do about this? How there's
Yeah.
no way to change it. There's no going back. But
Yeah.
there, I think there is, and so that's why I I thought that this project, the Distraction Free Schools Policy Project, was so encouraging because now this is starting to move into like, here's how you introduce bills and like things can become laws and which is a
Yeah.
process I've shared with you I am so unfamiliar with and so like
We're
uncomfortable with
learning together.
and need to go back to US government 101 because I did not pay attention in high school myself. Yikes. Um, so what is it that you and now with me, and I know there's obviously some other people that have decided to join and be part of this too. What is it that you're working on or hoping to accomplish as the state of Illinois distraction free schools lead?
Well, I don't know. It sounds like we had tried to pass the cell phone one, and we're going back again to try. It sounds like it's we might be having issues with the wording. I know which other states that have passed it have come back to say because of these, exceptions for emergencies or
Right,
different language that was put in there, they want to go back to change the language because it's not playing out as it was meant to.
right.
So I think that's maybe the first thing that needs to be addressed is um, to see what the language is like right now, and if it's something we need to talk
Modify
to more
for.
people about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's I probably should have pulled it up. I know there are a number of states that have pass this, and I just don't have that number memorized. Do you know that off the top of your head?
I don't
That's what I usually do.
either.
Yeah,
No.
I don't have that memorized. But this, this isn't like this unachievable thing like states are starting to pass it. And I will say, on a more local level, school districts across the country are implementing these bell to bell or away for the day phone bans. And it
Hmm.
sounds like, from at least the ones that I've been on Zoom meetings about, or just read articles about, initially there's pushback, and understandably
Yeah.
so, and it's a fight to get there. But then I have not seen, and again, I'm not on the internet all day every day, but I have not seen a single article that says, ooh, I wish we didn't do that.
Right.
It was tough in the beginning. It was tough to get people to buy in, students and parents alike. It sounds like teachers are more overwhelmingly on board with this because they're tired of
Yeah.
policing the phones.
Yeah.
Um, but that once it's in place, and that's kind of the expectation that's been set, like, that there's great things that happen. One of them
Yeah.
being like there's noise in the school building again.
Yeah.
Like kids are
There's books
talking
being checked out in the
there's
library
books being
again. Yeah.
checked out. Yeah. Um
Yeah. I agree. I called a local Catholic high school that I had heard through a friend that they started to do the away for the day. And called and talked to their principal just to see, how it got started, how it was going, getting any kind of feedback. And
yeah.
yeah, he had all good things to say. I'm sure, you know, I would think at least there was some student pushback at the beginning, but
Yeah.
I don't know. From his feedback, it all sounded pretty good. He said when he announced it at like the parent freshman orientation, the parents were in applause and
Oh wow. Okay.
um yeah, so again, I know public school is very different, but
Right.
I've only heard good things, so
Well, and even some of the
gives me hope.
yes, I seeing that so many are now kind of turning to this, it does make me think that, like, all of the states are probably going to pass some kind of law. But um, backing up a little bit, I think some of the pushback, not just the students not loving this idea initially, but also the parents who are like, well, how am I going to get in contact with my kid during the day? And the problem with that is, well, should you be
Yeah.
getting in contact with your kid during the day? And I understand, like, plans can change. Hey, I'm going to pick you up at this, or, grandma's picking you up instead, or catch the bus instead. But then I also think, like, okay, I graduated high school in 2004 and did
Hmm.
not, I, smartphones, obviously, they weren't a thing. And I don't
Yeah.
even think I don't know that I think I had a cell phone my senior year, but I honestly don't remember. I think it was either my senior year or freshman year of college. But I was able to make it through a school day without my mom being able to text me, or me being
Hmm.
able to text my mom. And so I think there's just been this shift now that smartphones are just so, universally
Yeah.
accepted. It's also like, well, you're just constantly accessible. And
Yeah.
I I don't like that. I don't like that for my own self. I'm trying to set limits of, like, even just today, talking with my husband about, all right, we cannot keep our phones up in our rooms. We just can't. It's not good for our brains. I can't, like, I feel like a hypocrite because I'm talking about all these things about screens and, phones, and then I'm not following these things that are suggested and that I'm,
Yeah.
putting out there.
It's hard. Yeah.
But it's like everything's on it. Everything.
Yeah.
Oh man. Anyways, here I go.
Yeah.
Now there's my tangent. But um
It's
but
true. It's like everything's from that. Your calendar, your grocery list, your
yeah, my
email,
credit
everything.
card,
Yeah.
the Target app that I keep using and maybe
Kids
potentially,
activity apps. Yeah. It just,
yeah, yeah. And so, okay,
hmm
since you have obviously, older kids, what has their reaction been? Or maybe I should back up. What kind of technology or devices do you have in your family for your kids? How do you manage that?
and I promise you, I am not anti-tech at all, but I don't think, the internet's not made for children.
Yeah.
So we're pretty device free. My high schooler, we have, I think it's my old cell phone that we have set up that he can use to call and text message. Um, but we call it our home phone, so it's not technically his phone, but he's the
Yeah.
one that's using it for texting and stuff. Um, so he has that. He actually doesn't bring it to school. We were kind of like, let's just see how high school goes, and if we can do this without it, let's we'll go from there.
Interesting.
We'll reevaluate as we go. So yeah, he's been doing fine without it. Let's see,
I have to imagine
we
he's
don't do
one
like
of the
tablets or anything.
yeah.
Um, yeah, if they need to look stuff up, they either I try to encourage them to use like the computer that's in the office, but
Okay, so like a home computer.
right,
So
yeah.
your high schooler that doesn't take a phone to school, I would be willing to bet he's one of like one or
I mean, I don't know.
very few
I've asked
that
him before.
don't.
I'm like, anybody else that doesn't?
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. He might be the only one. I don't know.
But it doesn't bother him and he's not left out of things or
No, I feel like we've really tried to, educate them on the reasons why, and I think they're in general like, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, for me, like you were saying, I just feel like having a smartphone is such a burden. It's such a chore. I feel like I really noticed it when I don't know, we were on a vacation recently in the mountains where we had no reception, and just for days to not have it
yeah.
was so wonderful, like to not have to, oh shoot, did I miss a message? Did I miss a call? Checking email, to not have to deal with all of that. I'm just like,
Right.
it shouldn't be part of childhood to have that burden of a smartphone. So, we're putting it off for as long as we can.
Yeah. Well, and I think even there's been, I read, and I think you've said you read it too, or at least certainly know of the Anxious Generation book. That's for me,
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of what kicked this whole thing off.
Same,
I'd
yes.
been a school counselor for years, and I'd been seeing at least the academic, well, and the social, not just academic, but the struggle with students, and like they just can't put it down, and not by their own. It's not their fault. It wasn't
Right.
designed for them to put it down. Um,
Yeah.
and I also know parents aren't giving devices thinking, "Oh man, this is gonna mess them up. I know this is gonna harm them." Of course not. They're are these for lack of a there are lies being told by these companies that they have safety measures put in place, all these
Yep.
parental controls, and many of them do work. There are things that work, um, but when it comes to that access to the internet, the smartphone piece, not a basic phone, but the smartphone, um, there's just so much. It's like a full-time job to have to figure out how to manage that thing and what apps
Yeah.
are allowed or not allowed or how to control who can text or call and send things out. I'm thinking ahead for myself. I'm like, I don't know that I want to learn. I don't know that I
Right.
want to
How
have
to
to learn
keep up
how
on
to.
it all.
Yeah, and it changes. Like an app had this one feature, and now tomorrow it has a different feature. It has disappearing messages that you don't know about.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah. I mean, and like I said, obviously, from what I've explained, my son has pretty limited, access, but I do, and he knows that it's our property, so he knows that we're gonna check the phone, not because we don't trust him, but just
sure.
because, you know, we're not sure what other people are sending. We don't want you to get in trouble for anything, just to, and it's a chore to stay on top of that.
Well, yeah, I would.
Really not that much. So
Well, what I was gonna go back to, I just realized I went off. My brain always has 1,000 tabs open, and so I am. That's one problem even with using my smartphone. It's like there's 1,000 tabs open on my phone and
yeah,
also in my brain.
yep,
Um, but I know with the book, The Anxious Generation, there was kind of this message that if your kid doesn't have a smartphone like everyone else who does have a smartphone, like they're going to be left out of things. But I would almost challenge that actually isn't happening. The actual, communication on the device they might be left out of, but they still have friends. They're still socializing, and if anything, they're
Yeah.
probably hopefully having maybe more meaningful friendships because they're not distracted by the phone in the moment. Do you? I know
Yeah.
I'm getting personal about just your just your high schooler, but do you feel like friendships like he's not being left out of things, still kind of living a typical high school
Oh yeah. Yep.
experience?
He ran on the cross country team, and of course they had like a group me app or something. So,
Right,
but
right.
again, he's got access to that and texting after school time. But yeah, when they're in school, I feel like he's not missing out. I mean, I do see from his text messages that kids are sending him things during school time, but
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm sure.
yeah, so I'm glad that he's not distracted by it, I guess. But yeah, no, he's thriving and doing well in school and socially doing really well. So
Have you had
yeah,
other parents ask you, like, how did you do that? Like, is that ever a question that you get? Because it does feel like how, you're this unique, isolated, one case, but it seems like if more and more parents say, well, hey, they do it, like,
I think
we
the
can do it too.
yeah, I mean, I have had friends ask about like, somebody actually recently reached out about having issues with her son and just basically being addicted and
Yeah,
trying to, set some boundaries and asking about what kind of rules do we have in place, that kind of thing. Um, I unfortunately I think it's just so hard once you do give that to them. It's obviously really hard to take back,
right,
and I
right.
feel like, of course, as a freshman, most people already have them or have had them for a while.
Yeah.
So I don't get many questions from, you know, other
Fellow
parents at his
high
age
school
level.
parents.
Yeah.
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 I wish I did.
Yeah. Well, and I wonder again, not that we have some like super big reach with our with our podcast, but to know that like literally there is, I'm talking to you right now, there is a family that's decided we don't, we don't do smartphones. And it's not even that it's not smartphones up until, the end of 8th grade. Like you have a high schooler who's going to school and isn't taking a phone to school and is
Yeah.
still surviving, is still doing things, is still having friendships, is still involved in activities. Um,
Hmm.
has he asked like when am I getting this, or is that not even a conversation?
Honestly, he doesn't. I know. Sometimes I'll stop and think like, is it weird he hasn't asked, or that's not he's not giving us a hard
Yeah,
time? But I don't think he feels like he's being deprived of anything. He's still able to text and call friends when he
sure.
wants to. Um, yeah, I'll have to have more of a conversation with him about it because now I'm kind of curious.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it must not be the fact that he's not, begging every week. Okay, when is it? When can I get my smartphone? When can I get my smartphone? Well, then
Yeah,
it must not have that much of a pull or an impact on him then, anyways, because he's just out living his life. Um,
yeah,
and I think so when I, kind of brought this wait until eighth thing here, at least more publicly. I know some other families had signed up certainly before I um, kind of brought it here to Morton. That has been one of those kind of pushbacks like, well, but my kid needs a phone, for things like sports or activities or to communicate changes. And it's not that it's you can't have any phone, it's just that important distinction of the smartphone, of
yeah.
access to the internet. Um,
Hmm.
because, yeah, like you said, the internet is not currently, it's not a space for kids. It's not designed for
Yeah,
them, or at least not designed for them to use alone, and solo.
yeah,
So, um, I I am curious, kind of how this whole project will play out, here in Illinois, and just my own learning process of figuring out like how to contact legislators, how to contact lawmakers, like who are those people? Thankfully, that was I was worried I was gonna have to like start making this whole list on my own. But thankfully, this project provides a list of like every single,
Somebody's done a lot of work, that's for
yeah,
sure.
which I
Thank,
very much
thank
appreciate.
you.
Like, who
Yes.
are these people? My own lack of
Yeah.
understanding of how not just state law, local law, state law, and then national law, how that all works together. Um,
Hmm.
so I guess kind of looking. I didn't have, well, and I told you before, this is it's a very casual conversation. We don't often have like we have to talk about X, Y, and Z in this very specific way. So this might seem all over the place, which is fine. Then everyone will
I
feel
love it.
they will feel at home because that's how it is a lot of the time. Um, but I went back and I opened up, just that email that we've gotten about like here's all of the things and all of the resources to use and links to people like talking at school board meetings and how to contact principals, superintendents, all these different action items that you can do. um, is there anything that you just in your district? I know you talked about you've got kind of this group of parents that you communicate with informally and formally. Is there anything else that you're hoping to do just in your district, just to kind of bring more education about these bills or just these ideas in general about smartphones being harmful or education tech, those kinds of
Well,
things?
speaking of having so many tabs open, I feel like that I'm kind of all over the place with what do we do next? Like I said, we kind of had these two goals as far as our focus group that we were focusing on.
Yeah.
And so far, unfortunately, neither of our two goals are making much progress. The two administrators that we worked with in the school district had, I think, presented this deck at one of the in-service trainings for teachers at the start of the school year, specifically focusing on the whole screen-free free time. So in their mind, they thought that they kind of checked that one off the list for us,
Okay.
but still weekly, from hearing reality, it's not
It's not
being
happening.
carried out.
Yeah.
So yeah. And same with the giving families the option to leave Chromebooks at school on a daily basis, or just teaching the kids to take them home only if needed.
Yeah.
That made more sense to us. They, besides the whole, they have to take them home for charging purposes. We also got the reasoning was also training the kids for high school when they have to take it.
Mm, yeah.
I mean, that's just,
I
you
know.
get these silly responses and you just, I don't know.
It's hard.
Um, but we did, I had sent an email to the administrators that we'd met with. We'd met with our chief technology officer, as well as the administrator in charge of like curriculum instruction. And, we had last sent an email just stating how, and I think most school districts are probably similar, where they're very thoughtful if there's families that have certain values to
Yeah.
make exceptions as far as, say, vaccines, or opting out of Aaron's Law, or opting out of emergency drills,
Right.
um, holiday parties, making exceptions and um, respecting those family values. And we just felt like, this is kind of a major thing. Like, we're trying to teach our kids that technology is a great tool to have and it has its place, but it shouldn't be at the forefront of everything. We shouldn't be teaching an 8-year-old that you need to bring your Chromebook everywhere you go, to home, to school, every day. That's in direct opposition of what we're trying to teach them. So
Right.
um, we did get a response that they were going to reconsider the policy. So
Okay.
you know, hoping really hard for a few weeks there that maybe they were going to adjust the policy, but they came back saying, at this time we can't accommodate if 100% of the population would like to do this,
Oh, okay.
which we all know that's silly, because 100% of the population, that's not going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not going to happen. And, our other point was teachers should have autonomy to make those choices. And if it's something that works for their classroom for certain kids to leave their Chromebooks there, they should be able to do that. Yeah, so we didn't get the response we'd hoped for. So it's like back to the drawing board. And yeah, as far as the tabs, another piece that I feel like I've been trying to focus on is getting in touch with our pediatrician. And I don't know. I'm not really sure. Again, with so many of these different things, I feel like I'm reaching out to people. I don't really have a plan, but I want to have a conversation and see if we can come up with, I don't know if it's, parent education,
Right.
bringing that to PTA meetings. I'm not really sure, but yeah, I'm not really sure where we're going. Now, I guess it's
Yeah. No, it's
going back. What
good.
was your question? I'm sorry. Now I'm.
Caitlin, I don't even remember. That's what happens. It's like I ask
um.
something and then it leads to something else.
Yeah.
I I I think I was trying to see, what are things that either you've done or planning to do. So like here, I'll kind of wrap up with it. At least here in my community, it's partly why I've started showing that film Can't Look Away,
Mhm.
documentary. And not that it covers even any of like the school stuff. It's primarily just focused on the social media companies and then the no you know the harm that they knowingly are inflicting on
Yeah.
kid and child teen users. And then thankfully, the now legal the lawsuit piece, which they were
Yeah.
denied for so long because of Section 230. Thankfully, that's now gone through. And so I don't know if you personally have followed along to any of like the evidence and the discovery and things that are coming out from these lawsuits, but wow, social media companies they are doing some real dark stuff when it
Yeah.
comes to our
Yeah.
kids. And it's like, I mean, at least I'm glad that this kind of stuff is coming to the light and you can see it in writing, in black and white.
Yeah.
They know what they're doing and they're doing it anyways,
Hmm.
because it turns them a profit. So
Yeah.
for me, that's why I decided to start showing that film. And even though it's been small, my showing numbers, I
You just
am.
had another one?
I did, yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, Helen, we were going to talk about it. She came um, to my last one, and so I've now had two school board members come to screenings, and then I had
That's great.
the high school principal came, and other community members. I had a developmental therapist come. I think, gosh, I'm blanking now. I think he was a heart surgeon. Anyways, a
Yeah.
medical professional.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so all these kind of just different that was my goal. Was I want other people to start having conversations around these
Yeah.
topics because I know other
Yeah.
people care about it. Um,
Right.
and so I am on the piece of now, how do I get this to be more like collectively we're coming together, maybe in a physical space to talk
Yeah.
about these concerns, here in our community, kind of like you talked about getting a parent group to be centered on those two goals. Um,
Hmm.
so I suppose I never know how to end our episodes, by the way. We kind of like we're like, all right, I guess we talked about all the things we wanted to talk about and we should probably hit the stop button. Um but is there anything, that any thoughts that you're like, I really, I know I kind of sprung this on you. Like, do you want to come talk on our podcast? But was there anything that just for you wanted to make sure that you shared? And if it's no, I shared what I needed to share, then that's that's fine too.
No, I think that so many parents, and starting this focus group, I have had so many parents reach out. Like you said, they have these concerns too, and just nobody really knows what to do about it, and kind of feeling like, I think we're stuck here.
Right.
We got to just deal with this. So it has been really nice to discuss the concerns we have and to talk about things we hear our kids say happening in school, and just how important it is to reach out to the administrators because after meeting with ours, and like I said, we're a very large district, they really don't know what's happening in the classrooms and how bad it is. And I just want to say how important it is to take 1 minute of your time to send that email to the principal, to the administrators, so they know.
Right.
My kid just watched the trailer for this movie, during math. Anything that happens like that, bothers you, take that 1 minute to send it, because they're not going to know that this kind of stuff is going on unless we let them know.
Right. It's not even that it's like a combative email or anything. It's like, hey, this is
Right.
something I want to let you know that this happened so that
Yes.
hopefully that could, not happen for another student, another child.
Right.
Um,
Like
yeah,
I said, we would give, examples of things that were happening, and they were just like, oh, there's no way that could happen. We have IT people on this. We have, that would be blocked, blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
right.
No, it happens
And it does, and
all the time.
even the IT, I've had a good, at least, through email, and I think I mentioned, like, I used to work in the district that I live in. And any conversation so far that I've had around these topics have been positive, have been, people are receptive. And so I think if you're a parent, whether you're in my district or your district or just anywhere listening, it doesn't have to be this us versus them,
Right.
mentality. Like, this really can be something you work together on. And I think ultimately anybody who gets into education anyways is doing that because they care about kids and care about
Right.
helping kids. So I think
Yeah.
as long as it's framed as not like, hey, you're doing this terrible job and you're awful, like, hey, I have
Right.
concerns about this, how can we go about fixing this or working on this?
Yeah. Right.
I think
Right.
that's just true with anything, any way
Yes.
you want to attack
It's always a nice way to
issue. It's
present
like,
it. Yes.
just don't be a jerk about it and
Yes.
talk to people and listen. Yeah. So if you take
Right.
away anything from this episode today, it's just don't be a jerk to people. be be kind, and kindness will get you way further than being a total jerk. Um
Yeah.
so, well, I really appreciate. We didn't say this. I hope it's okay to say it, that you are now solo in your house because there was an issue with a gas leak situation at your house. So I appreciate that.
Yes. I mean, thankfully, the gas was leaking outside of the house, but
Yeah,
yep, it's a
but even
situation we had to turn the gas off, and it's a little chilly out. So, yep, we're relocating for the night.
yeah, well, I appreciate that in that chaos you took time out of your day to to come join our podcast.
Yeah. I'm happy to be here, and it's always a topic I'm excited to talk to other people about. So,
Yeah. Well, I certainly hope this will reach more people, and then um well, now I have to end my episode without Helen. So I'll do my normal ender, which is, all right, even though it's freezing cold and there's a ton of snow on the ground. I don't know how much snow you guys got, but there was a significant amount, and there's more coming.
yeah.
Still, get outside, people. Touch the grass even though it's covered in snow. Get fresh air. Do something off your screen. And oh, now I have to say Helen's part. Okay. Editing is done expertly by Helen Plevka-Jones. Social media is done by Jordan Spickelmeyer. Podcast music is done by Brian Spickelmeyer. And we will catch you on the flippity flip.